some of the potential questions that you might get at the consulate. And I'm going to read through that. And Carl, feel free to kind of jump in and talk about any of these questions. I just want to mention that obviously we don't know exactly what the officer is going to be asking. These are just some potential questions that we've seen that the officers do typically ask. So it's a good idea to know what these are so you can be prepared. So asking who is your employer, because obviously this is an EB-3 green card, employment-based. How did you learn about your employer? How did you apply? Where's your employer's address? What is your hourly rate? Where will you be working? Which area are you assigned? How many hours per week will you be working? When will you travel to the US? Who is your contact person in the US? Is your employer providing you relocation? And how long have you been working as a nurse? This should be consistent with the DS-260. Carl, any other questions that you've seen the consulate officers ask, or any comments on that list?
Yeah, I think the list is very good. It did trigger a memory that I had. A lot of my wife's nieces, we've actually immigrated over either from the Philippines or they've gone to Canada, and we've immigrated them from Canada. And but I remember one specific niece because she lived with us for a while, and her husband actually works for me. I gave him a job. He's very good. But there was some big recruitment company, certainly not you, Tanya. You would never do anything like this, but I couldn't believe they had done this when they have jobs, you know, in hospitals across the US that they make contracts with. And they told her that she would be working in a suburb of Los Angeles. When she actually got here, they said, oh, that job's disappeared. It's already been filled. And you have to go up to Idaho, which is over 1,000 miles away from Los Angeles. And she goes, what do you mean Idaho? I mean, my family's here and you told me I had a job here. And fortunately, I was not representing her. She had, you know, through that company, she had another immigration attorney. And I thought, this is strictly against the law for them to, you know, she's already told the embassy in Manila that she's going to be working in Los Angeles, and they're giving her a job 1,000 miles away. So I said, who's the lawyer? And it was, you know, a guy that I knew for years. And I called him up and I said, hey, you and I both know that that's against the law for the company to do that. And I'm going to give you 24 hours. I want something in writing. That what they told her was that I think it was like $40,000 that they said they had spent on the whole case, and that in her contract she was going to have to reimburse them if she didn't go to Idaho. And I said, no, you can't do that. You told her you had a job in LA. She told the embassy that. Mm-hmm. I'll give you 24 hours or we're going to turn that information over to immigration, and your client is not going to be able to bring any more nurses to the US. And about 3 hours later, the guy called me and he wrote me an email and he said, okay, forget the $40,000. She's fine. Oh
my goodness, Carl.
But I thought, wow. I was taken aback. I didn't know that companies thought they could get away with it. And I guess if she hadn't had an uncle who was an immigration lawyer.
Thank goodness for you. Wow.
She might have moved to Idaho. And I just thought that's not the way to handle things. So, people sometimes think they can skirt the requirements of the immigration law. And I'm not talking about the nurse. I'm talking about the employer or the recruitment agency. And, I've worked with, Tanya and I, we've worked together for years, and I know you've never done anything like that. But once in a while, there's somebody out there that does that. And you should be very careful, like which recruitment agency you sign up with. Because if they're telling you things that don't sound right, guess what? It probably is not right.
Yeah. Wow. That is a shocking horror story. And unfortunately, it does sometimes happen. And that's as you say, you've got to check out the company, the employer, and make sure that everything is legitimate. Because at the end of the day, at the consular interview, I mean, people get nervous, Carl, but really what they're trying to do is just to make sure that this is a real job, that you're a real nurse, and that everything is above board, right?
Right, exactly. I mean, it's not as complicated as it seems.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's a very a good story for people to be aware of.